Virtual reality gets better day by day, and with the vast quantities of different headsets from a whole bunch of really great brands, it can be difficult to know which one is truly the best. Well, here, let me break this one down for you in the top 5 best VR headsets. Oh, and all links to these will be down in the description and comment section, so be sure to check that out. When it comes to the GOAT of VR headsets, Oculus has been the reigning champion for a while. The Oculus Rift S is probably the headset that comes to mind when you think of virtual reality, although Facebook has said they will be discontinuing it, unfortunately. It's mostly been replaced by the Oculus Quest too, but if you want an alternative to that for whatever reason, then the Rift S is still a really great choice, and compared to its predecessor, it's a pretty substantial upgrade. I think the inside-out tracking is for sure a super nice feature because it means that the setup experience and usability overall is so much cleaner. There's no need for wiring or any giant room with base stations and all that stuff. It's a very simple form of virtual reality that's probably its biggest appeal. You can also be assured that the vast quantities of games that the Rift S has access to will keep you satisfied for a long time too, all thanks to having access to the Oculus game library. I will admit that there are some disappointments, however. Firstly, it only has an 80Hz refresh rate, which is a little low and can make the image appear a little bit stuttery at times. The Reverb G2 by HP is undeniably a strong contender in the headset arena because it's insanely good resolution, superb comfort, and usability. It's a standard 90Hz screen, LCD panel. You know what to expect. Where it gets impressive is for sure the 2160p by 1440p resolution, because that's for each eye, not just the whole screen. Each eye has the luxury of having a 2K display essentially, which is just one of the many reasons why the G2 is a headset that's very easy on the eyes. That resolution also does two other things. Firstly, it ensures the long-term usability of the headset as VR in-game graphics catch up. And secondly, it removes the screen door effect altogether. The addition of an IPD toggle on the underside of the frame is also super nice, because it just allows each user to make the necessary adjustments to fit their pupillary distance. Annoyingly, the field of view isn't all that great, which is its only real drawback. But outside of that, you'll find few issues. I mean, you get a super long cable, which makes for a fantastic range, and altogether, the tracking isn't necessarily the best without base stations. What you can be grateful for is the IMU gyro sensors. They're actually pretty good for predicting movements beyond the tracking area. So all in all, it's probably the best headset from HP and a pretty decent option overall. Perhaps the HTC Vive Cosmos Elite is such a fantastic headset because of the amazing bundle that comes with it. For as little as $500, which for VR standards is a pretty fair price, I should add, for that you can get the headset, of course, and Half-Life Alyx as well as 6 months free Viveport Infinity. That's just a really nice add-on because it means you'll have a lot of games to choose from out of the box. I ought to note that the Vive Cosmos Elite is not the same as the Vive Cosmos because it is, in fact, the improved edition that aims to solve some of the nagging issues that the original version faced. Digging a bit deeper, you can expect dual 1440 by 1700 displays for each eye with a standard LCD display and 110 degrees field of view. There's also a 90Hz refresh rate. The premium feel translates through into the gameplay because it does look really nice and plays buttery smooth. Outside of that, the Cosmos Elite is essentially the same as its predecessor, except it comes bundled with the base stations, first-generation controllers, and a new and improved faceplate. Unfortunately, that means this version has less inside-out tracking, but on the flip side has better accuracy overall because of those base stations. Of course, you will need a fairly spacious room to use the headset if you plan on making a purchase, so bear that in mind. The Oculus Quest 2 is really great because it's cheap and offers a heck of a lot more than most headsets at this price range. But there's a catch. Some may not care, but I can safely assume that the necessity to log in to Facebook to use it is a bit of a turnoff for more than a few because what that means is that you'll have to comply with Facebook's terms and services. And bearing in mind their recent fiasco with selling information, it's understandable that it's not the most trustworthy of applications. However, if you can get past that minor or major discrepancy, then I'm sure the Quest 2 will be more than impressive. It's a fairly simple looking set, but if you delve deeper into the internals, you'll find that it has a very high and awkward resolution that, well, sits between 3K and 4K. That's super great for immersion because it just makes it all the more difficult to see individual pixels, which of course no one wants with a VR headset. The screen is a standard LCD screen, so color-wise it's nothing too special, but the overall clarity of gameplay remains. I'll also add that the 90Hz refresh rate is really smooth. Although if that's not enough, then worry not, because there's going to be an upgrade soon that allows for 120Hz for some games. But what I think is the great thing about the Quest 2 is the fact that it's a standalone headset with a Snapdragon XR2, which means you'll be able to take it on the go with you and still play. Of course, there is the option to hook it up to an external gaming PC if you want to access a wider range of games too. So you really do have a whole lot of options with this one. It's also probably one of the easiest headsets to set up because it has a built-in inside-out tracking and hand tracking, which will work pretty seamlessly. Oh, and they also have the classic Oculus Touch controllers as well, which is the standard for Oculus headsets, and they're good, so no complaints there. For me, it's just the mandatory Facebook login that's the small drawback. But for $400 for the 256GB model and even less for the 65GB model, I can hardly complain too much. I truly think that the Valve Index is the best virtual reality headset that money can buy right now. Sure, it ain't cheap. Well, actually, it's pretty expensive at $1,000, but you absolutely get what you pay for. Firstly, though, I'm gonna get the bad things out of the way, but don't worry, it's not a very extensive list. The setup is awkward because it's a high-end set, so it requires a pretty extensive setup. The finger tracking isn't that useful or applicable for the vast majority of games, but I'll get to that later. Aside from that, the Index is a magnificent VR headset, 1440 by 1600 per eye resolution, and an AMO LED panel equates to gorgeous image quality. Pair that with the 120Hz refresh rate and 130-degree field of view, and now you can start to see why it costs $1,000. This is, of course, subjective, but it's unlikely you'll be able to find a more immersive and commercially available VR headset past the Index. The controllers are some of the best available too. They're finger tracking, which means that there are sensors that can detect individual finger movements, which opens up the possibility to play games with significantly more intricate functions. The issue with that is only a very small amount of games support that specific function, so even though it's seriously cool, right now it seems to be more of a gimmick than anything. One very noticeable aspect of the Index is the way the speakers are orientated, because what you get is built-in near-field speakers that sit right over your ears, but not actually on them. This creates the illusion of 3D sound, which is super immersive while also not shutting you out from the outside world. The best part of the hovering speakers has to be the fact that they don't cause ear fatigue, because they're not actually resting on the ears, so that's super nice for the long gaming sessions. Overall, the Valve Index is a massively impressive headset, and although it costs a pretty penny, it will provide you with endless VR joy. So, if you want a headset that can be better than most headsets that come out in 5 years' time, then this is the one for you. Anyways, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe if you're feeling generous. Oh, and don't forget to check the links in both the comment section and the description if you want to see the headsets for yourself.